did Yugioh's brutal Ante rule completely carry Joey Wheeler's deck? Today, we are ranking every single card Joey won from a battle and took from a losing opponent. From absolute trash to tournament-defining powerhouses. Just how good were these cards? Well, let's break it down. Ranking as 5 Antes is actually really easy, yet also tough. You'll see why, as there's 3 distinct tiers of monsters, and deciding who's best in said tier is a challenging task. This ranking will be based on how they fit Joey's deck in the grand scheme of things, and also how iconic they are to him, and just how generally good they are, or potentially could be. Note, these are all cards he won in battle only from losing opponents, not from trades. At number 5, we have the total trash tier, Fortress Whale, a ritual fish type monster with 2350 attack. Objectively the worst, as Joey literally cannot play it. You know why? It's a ritual monster, meaning he has to use a special card for it, and Joey doesn't have it. You know, I could actually see this being the ultimate troll move a Weevil character would play. Give the guy who beat you a monster, but not the ritual card to summon it, just to laugh in their face. Okay, but seriously, is this a bad card, or does it just suck in Joey's deck? No, it's objectively a really bad card. You need to sacrifice 8 stars worth of monsters, so at least 2 monsters, and what do you get for it? A badly typed 2350 attack monster with no effect whatsoever. You want more proof this thing sucks? Mako has a normal monster that's stronger in his deck and is 100 times easier to get out. Amphibian Beast, and guess how you summon it? You tribute 1 monster. Yeah, as Esperoba said, it won't go on my deck, but it'll make a nice coaster for my drink. Next, we have 2 monsters I'm going to struggle to rank. They're not bad per se, by anime standards at least. In the real game, they're awful. Insect Queen and Legendary Fisherman. These cards have little utility on their own and need backup and support from other cards. Now, for their place in the show, it couldn't be more even if you try. They both get summoned in the exact same duel, do nothing of note, and then end up getting destroyed within turns of each other by the exact same monster, no less. So what do these cards actually do? Well, Legendary Fisherman is a water warrior type monster. If Yumi is on the field, it is unaffected by spell cards, and it also cannot be attacked. However, it is still vulnerable to traps. A fairly basic effect, but it has 1850 attack, so it's about on par with Joey's Flame Swordsman or Guilty of the Night. Insect Queen is an insect monster that gains 200 attack for every insect on the field, with a potential of 4,200 as a cap. Or technically higher if you play a bunch of insect tokens, as token monsters, in anime logic, don't actually use up your monster space. In fact, Weevil summons 10 of them in one duel, getting up to like 6,000 attack. Her biggest weakness, however, is the eggs. Every monster destroyed by her forces her to lay an egg token. These tokens have only 100 attack and are summoned in attack mode, so they're highly vulnerable, and in anime logic, they seem unable to go into defense mode. And she also needs a tribute to actually attack as well, so her intent is to use the egg tokens both as tribute fodder and to keep her attack points while she destroys monsters. So to run these cards, you pretty much need a lot of support. Legendary Fisherman without Umi is really standard for a 1 tribute monster. It's not totally useless. It's a basic 1 tribute with minimal drawbacks. Its attack stat is a little low, but hey, all you really need is Yumi. Insect Queen, however, without support on her own, has a lot of hurdles. You need insect monsters to get her attack boost, you need things to tribute for those attacks, and you need a way to protect those eggs. By itself, it has 2400 attack, which is low, but not totally horrible. So the big difference here is Weevil's deck is all about covering for Insect Queen's weaknesses, while Mako's mostly affected Yumi itself, using it for protection. Mako's only obstacle was actually drawing Umi, while with Insect Queen, the egg tokens directly led to her downfall. Mako's downfall was a little bit more standard. He fell for a trap, and that was really it. Now let's take a look at Weevil. He had used a Parasite card. He had to sneak into Joey's deck to turn his monsters into insects so she'd get the boost. He used Insect Barrier to stop attacks, also to protect the eggs. And he also used various life point gaining cards to mitigate the damage the eggs would take. But that's the issue. They need constant protection from these effects. Now, how do these two cards fit Joey's deck? You might actually be surprised. For Insect Queen, it's obvious Joey doesn't play enough insects to even make use of the power boost. In fact, he has none. Joey's deck is pretty much all warriors and beast warriors. However, he could use the egg tokens to boost them slowly, but he'd have to sacrifice more monsters and keep the eggs on the field so Insect Queen would get a boost. Joey also has a few protective battle traps, like Magical Arm Shield, but honestly it's not enough to protect those eggs. And he lacks a card like DNA Surgery to just make everything an insect. The only combo I can think of is using the Parasite card he forgot to take out of his deck and try to turn his opponent's monsters into insects. He tries this against Mako, but it gets destroyed during the flip summon. However, the manga, the original anime subversion, and the dub all disagree on why this attack failed. In the real game, this scenario would actually fail too, because the Parasite card has to survive. It'd give a boost to the queen if it worked. That's it. Literally. What about Legendary Fisherman? Legendary Fisherman, however, many people forget this, but it's a warrior type. You know whose deck loves warriors? Joey. He has quite a few warrior support cards and equipped, like Lightning Blade and Legendary Sword. So aside from gambling cards, warrior support is basically Joey's main strategy. If you're prepared for it, which Joey is not, Insect Queen is better. But for Joey, Legendary Fisherman is better because his deck is sort of prepared for it. And it's not totally handicapped by its effects. So that's my ranking. Fourth is Insect Queen, and third is the Legendary Fisherman. And finally, oh boy, the most controversial spot is number 1, Jinzo for the Red Eyes Black Dragon. It's a battle between genuine usage and thematic reasoning. Well, Red Eyes is the card most associated with Joey Wheeler. It's like his proxy in a way, but Jinzo was objectively broken. 2400 attack and blocking all traps for a 1 tribute monster, and in the days when traps were actually a huge part of the game. Jinzo also gets him through so many pitfalls and holes, and he's a unit by himself. Anime Jinzo destroys traps instead of just negating them. And for such a good effect, he has decent attack too. 2400, which is pretty fair for the day. 1 tribute monster? In fact, he has the same attack stat as Red Eyes Black Dragon. Red Eyes is a normal monster, keep in mind, and also 2 tributes. Jinzo, just 1. Unlike the other 2 monsters prior, however, Jinzo doesn't need a lot of support. His effect is simple enough, with no drawbacks. In fact, Joey does just fine without all the equips and support that Esperobi used. Red Eyes Black Dragon also thrived in Duelist Kingdom, and it did fairly well after he won it from Rex Raptor. It was pretty much his big monster, and it also had this totally sick fusion counterpart, the summoned skull called the Black Skull Dragon. Now that thing is awesome. Aside from that, he helps defeat Bones by destroying his Pumpkin the King of Ghosts, and he helps beat Bandit Keith by taking Metalmorph to go from Red Eyes Black Dragon to Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon. Oh, and when Joey duels against Kaiba, it's destroyed like a common jobber. In Battle City, however, it receives a significant drop in push. Joey loses it to the Exodia Rare Hunter, and refuses to take it back from Yugi until he proved himself. Red Eyes doesn't get used until Yugi tries to use it to break Joey out of Merrick's mind control spell. Destroying it would be like hurting Joey himself. Yugi also uses it during the finals against Seto Kaiba, while Joey is still unconscious from his loss to Merrick. Joey also uses it more than Jinzo in the Doma arc and the Grand Prix filler arcs. Jinzo, however, is actually used more by filler characters like Lecter and the Kaiba Corp duel simulating computer, while Red Eyes is almost exclusively Joey Wheeler's monster, aside from when story reasons dictate otherwise. Fun fact, he doesn't actually choose it in the Virtual World arc, despite it being available, keeping true to his promise he wouldn't take it back until he was ready. Jinzo is obtained by beating Esperova, using his Reflect Bounder against him. It takes some time for the actual effect to be used, however. In fact, Joey only uses Jinzo as a powerful monster until the finals. However, Jinzo is a major game changer in both of Joey's finals duels, as against Odeon it destroys all his trap monsters in an instant, and Yami Merrick it frees his monsters from Merrick's burn traps. So both of those duelists who over-rely on traps are totally devastated. So in terms of actual usage, they're about the same. I do think Jinzo comes to save the day more often, though. So in terms of actual usage, I think they're about the same. However, I do think Jinzo comes to save the day more often. Thematically, Red Eyes Black Dragon is the Dragon of Potential, so it fits Joey. After all, Joey's character is that he has all the potential in the world to be a great duelist. His hurdle is lack of resources. Jinzo, on the other hand, only really fits Joey because it's so good, in general terms. It's not a warrior, it doesn't utilize gamble cards at all, he doesn't really have any equips, that Joey makes use of at least. Red Eyes, however, actually finds a way to enhance it with fusions, equips, or general card effects. Red Eyes Black Dragon can theoretically do anything and be fitted into any scenario with the right cards, while Jinzo is more like a one-trick pony. An excellent one-trick pony, but still. On their own, however, Jinzo I think is better, as it's the same power as Red Eyes Black Dragon, but with just one tribute. Both have 2400 attack, but Jinzo only needs one tribute. Red Eyes needs two, and also requires more thematic usage and backup. Jinzo can just get right to work. So, final ranking. I think in the big picture it's close, like a 51-49 situation, but Red Eyes just so slightly gets the number one spot. Joey Wheeler is the Red Eyes Black Dragon. Like how Yugi will always be associated with the Dark Magician. No matter how powerful the alternates are, Red Eyes Black Dragon will always be his number one. Thank you for watching. This has been the Blocker Nader.